Christian Long is a English teacher, but has also spent a lot of his career working for architecture firms, designing learning spaces and designing schools. And this last week, I had the pleasure of working with him along with Scott Swisher at Hamlin University um, for a full day where he came in periodically through Skype to work with our students in a class that we were teaching called Integrating Technology. And this week's tech tip is just a small clip from that session where he talks about designing for technologies of the future. And I think this is very important for us, considering that the very near future, 3 to 5 years, is fairly foreseeable. There are plenty of things that are coming our way that we can estimate based on what's going on in research and development at places like MIT and other places that are really pushing the limits of the future of technology, and this is really important for schools for if you're designing architecture, which is what Christian will talk about, but also for things like curriculum. Most schools operate with a curriculum review cycle of anywhere from 8 to 12 years. Well, 5 years ago, not very many people had the internet in their pocket, and not very many people had internet at home. And so, if we had known that 5 years ago, when people were going through this review cycle of where we would be today, would we have made changes to, or at least adopted a curriculum that was open to new innovations? So it's at least if you're planning things, it's really worth thinking about. So this is a little segment of our day.
I would love it too. The next generation then would be, instead of like smart boards, smart tables.
Yes. Well, I'll tell you that in your lifetime, in my lifetime, two things are going to happen. One is this idea of multi-touch. The way an iPhone is, or iPad, where you can pinch and stretch and it's intuitive, is we're going to get to the point where entire walls are, it's like the CNN wall. You can picture the CNN wall, the electoral map that came out. The inventor, Jeff Hahn, is a friend of mine. He was on TED, and he's now designing entire rooms where the entire wall is multi-touch. And it's a very different experience, not just the technology, but the idea of multi-users using space in a gesture-based way. So that's going to happen in our relative lifetime. This is the idea that certain spaces are going to afford that. And two, fibers, the very fibers of the material are going to be digitally enhanced. So your ski jacket, your dining room table, every fabric can conceivably be made digital, which means wherever you are, things are projectable and things are interactable as far as, and that's going to happen within our kids' lifetime. So you're right now we're doing the very, very modest Cro-Magnon duct tape version, but within our relative lifetime, we're going to see Surface be projectable and data rich in ways we've never imagined. And it's everything from your ski jacket to the entire room that you're in. So
kind of reminds me of street art.
Yeah, I mean, there's a wonderful video, if you ever want to look it up on TED, called Sixth Sense Technology. Yeah. And if you go to TED.com and type in Sixth Sense Technology, there's an Indian researcher who works at MIT. He's in their media lab. And he's done this amazing thing with under $400. He's essentially created digital cameras using your fingers. Your fingers are the camera. So you can, just by doing this, you can snap a photo, and then you can crop and expand the photo using your hands. And then on the ground can be video games. And it's just absolutely transformed what people think about, because once we get away from the idea that computers are expensive and they have to be this precious box that we put someplace or hold, and suddenly we, the very natural active nature of us, becomes digitized and expandable, it means we're going to get away from the I wish my kids would get off the damn computer and go climb a tree, to where the kid's going to say, I'm in the tree and I'm on Google, what the hell's your problem? It's just, we're going to move away from, as Jeff Hahn, my buddy, said, I think it's a point where we should no longer have to be conforming to the tool. The tool should conform to us, our natural intuitive movement. So it's coming. I don't know how many public schools will have those at their beck and call, but I will tell you that it won't look like science fiction much. It will not be science fiction.
To piggyback on that.
All right, so let me go back to your... Okay,
just
so
a sec,
right
Christian?
now... Okay, go ahead.
Oh, Carl just wanted to interject something.
Yeah,
Yes, Carl.
to build on that sixth sense idea, how do you see these kinds of devices? Because according to that video, that TED Talk, he makes it sound like within 5 to 10 years, everyone will be carrying these things.
Right.
How will that alone influence the design of learning?
Yeah. Well, it's going to do two things. It's gonna one of them's free and one of them's very expensive. The free version is we're going to end up in an interesting moment for design, I think, where suddenly it doesn't matter what the space is or where it is, because you no longer need a perfectly designed space to do whatever you're doing. You can do it once every surface becomes projectable, writable, playable, manipulable, then you don't have to be in a presentation room anymore to do presentation. And you don't need to arrange things. The difference is going to be mindset, that traditional speakers, educators, professionals need a space dedicated to an activity. So does that make sense? Like a corporate CEO and a professor think a very specific solution to a specific need. Whereas our younger generation, and I hate digital, I like Bart Prinsky, he's a nice enough guy, but digital natives has taken on way too much of a life of its own. It's kind of a false premise, the way it's being co-opted by educators. Not Mark's original usage is accurate, but the co-option is not. Is that people are, in this day and age, younger and younger folks don't care about perfect or permanent. So they don't need it to look like presentation to do presentation. They can be in a sidewalk, they can be in a coffee shop, they can be in a great theater. It's fine, wherever, and they don't need to save or archive. So they don't need it even to look prominent or reflective. So I think there's going to be a free sort of evolution, and that is, you know what, we don't even need to think about great design anymore. If we want to, we can have it, but we don't need to. Whereas right now, what we're doing is we're finally realizing that design has value and that human beings are affected by environment. But really what we're trying to do is rationalize that if we can design 21st century schools, that'll be a good use of taxpayer dollars, because everyone's worried their kid's not going to get a job against a kid in China. So we're trying to design these really fluid, agile, digitized spaces so that our kids can get jobs on a global market. But the real truth is we shouldn't be designing schools just to get jobs anyway, and that's really a temporary set of solutions. The more expensive answer is we can design certain spaces to be transformative in terms of virtual, three-dimensional, interactive. Every possible element you can imagine is oriented in these certain spaces. They almost become like life prototype spaces where you can prototype and test experience. And that's that kind of next big, deep, rich, scary place where 3D technology, prototyping, digital access, cloud computing, gesture-based in not even against a hard surface, but against the air in front of you. That's going to make certain spaces very movie-like and very conceptual and very three-dimensional, where architects are going to use, as they do sometimes in installations, mist and light to create the concept of wall. But it's not permanent. Or these incredible labs, digitized labs, where any conceivable human experience or idea can be conceptualized in some sort of digitized form.